The Cowboys just made a move that hits like a lightning bolt in a dark room. Caleb Downs landing in Dallas at 12 is the kind of pick that makes you sit up, grin, and immediately start thinking about how this defense is going to look different from the first snap forward. This is Cowboys news with a real jolt to it, because this is not some maybe guy, not some development project, not some hope and pray bet on traits. This is a legitimate blue-chip football player who has been the same kind of force everywhere he's gone. High school, Alabama, Ohio State, it didn't matter. He showed up and was the guy. And that matters when you're trying to rebuild a defense that needed more than just talent. It needed clarity, it needed speed, it needed brains that move as fast as the body does. And that is exactly where the Christian Parker connection gets so interesting. Because once you start thinking about Caleb Downs under a defensive mind like that, the picture gets sharp real fast. You are not just adding a safety, you are adding somebody who can help define the whole thing. The instincts are there. The range is there, the tackling is there, the ability to close space is there. And the leadership? That's the part that can change the temperature of a unit. A lot of players can study a defense. A smaller group can run a defense. Caleb Downs feels like one of those rare players who can actually help think the defense forward while he is out there playing it. That is not common. That is not easy to find. And when you find it at 12, you don't overthink it. You say thank you, and you get to work. What makes this even more exciting is that he does not just look good on paper. He shows up on film in the moments where other guys start fading into the background. That is the tell. That is the real separator when the game gets muddy, when the offense starts stressing the structure, when the line is giving a little more push than expected. Caleb Downs is still finding the football. He is still getting downhill. He is still reading it like he already knows where the next domino is about to fall. You can see why people keep calling him a missile. He covers ground so fast that everything around him looks like it's moving in slow motion. That kind of processing speed combined with that kind of athletic burst is exactly what the Cowboys have been missing in a lot of those ugly defensive moments. Dallas has needed more players who don't just react, but erase. And that's the other thing here. This isn't just about one role, this is about flexibility. One of the most important parts of modern Cowboys news is understanding that defenses can't live in one lane anymore. You need players who can move around, disguise, adjust, and still make the play when the ball is snapped. Caleb Downs gives you that kind of freedom. He can live near the line of scrimmage. He can cover ground as a true free safety. He can help you in more 3 safety looks. He can become the kind of piece that lets the defense breathe instead of constantly surviving. That's why this pick feels bigger than the position. It feels like a tone setter. And honestly, that is the part that should really hit you. Dallas did not just draft a good player, they drafted a player who seems to want this stage. He wants the star. He wants the responsibility. He wants the pressure that comes with it. That matters in Dallas because not everybody wants the lights when the lights get hot. The Cowboys needed somebody who can carry the weight without flinching, and Caleb Downs looks like a player built for that exact job. So the question for you is simple. Did Dallas just get the best player in the draft? Because from where this sits, that argument is not crazy at all. It might actually be the strongest thing said about this entire night. Dallas didn't just walk out of this draft with a luxury pick and call it a day. They came back and said, in plain football terms, we still need heat off the edge. That's the part people sometimes miss when they start grading drafts by headlines alone. The Cowboys news angle here is not just that Dallas added another defender, it is that they added a different kind of defender, one with juice, a pure passer-chaser, a guy who can make an offensive coordinator feel that little knot in the stomach every time the ball is snapped. Malaki Lawrence may not have been the flashiest name on every board, but he absolutely fits a real, ugly, necessary need. And that need is pressure, not effort, not body count against the run. Pressure, the kind that speeds up a quarterback's clock, ruins timing, and turns a clean pocket into a bad decision waiting to happen. Dallas has had too many stretches where the defense could hold the line for a bit, but then the quarterback would just sit there and wait for the play to uncover itself. That is how drives drag on. That is how games slip. That is how a defense gets worn down even when it is trying. Malaki Lawrence changes that conversation because his first step and his pursuit speed show up immediately on film. He is the kind of rusher who looks like he's already halfway to the backfield before the tackle finishes his kick step. What jumps off the screen with him is the burst. You see it in the way he closes space, the way he shoots gaps, the way he gets under a blocker's hands before the blocker really settles into the rep. That is real. That is useful. And that is the kind of trait you do not ignore when you are trying to build a defensive front with teeth. He had production too, and not just empty calories. 28 tackles for loss and 20 sacks at UCF does not happen by accident. You don't rack that up just by being around the football. You do it by being disruptive, by living in the backfield, by making offenses account for you every single week. That is what the Cowboys needed more of. Now let's be honest, because that's how real Dallas Cowboys news should sound. This is not a clean prospect with zero concerns. He's going to have work to do against the run. That part is fair. There are reps where his aggressiveness gets him out of position because he's trying to knife into the backfield before the play fully declares. That can be a gift and a curse. The same hunger that helps him chase plays down can also pull him too far upfield if he is not disciplined. But here's the thing. When you are drafting for impact, you have to know what kind of risk you're accepting. Dallas did not take him because he is finished. They took him because the ceiling is real, and the ceiling matters when your defense needs difference makers, not just placeholders. That is why the fit makes sense. If Caleb Downs gives the defense a brain and a stabilizer, Malaki Lawrence gives it a pulse off the edge. That's a strong combo. You're not asking one player to do everything. You're building layers. One guy to read it, one guy to attack it, one guy to organize the middle, one guy to rattle the pocket. That balance is how you start changing a defense from soft to sharp. And if you're a Cowboys Nation fan, that should get your attention because this is the kind of draft logic that actually leads somewhere. There's also a little bit of edge to this pick, and I mean that in the best possible way. Dallas could have played safe. They could have gone with the obvious comfortable route. Instead, they kept swinging for players who can tilt the field. That is what good teams do when they're tired of being told they need to just add depth. No, they need playmakers, they need attackers, they need guys who make the offense feel the pressure before the pressure arrives. Malaki Lawrence gives you that. He may not be perfect, he may need coaching, he may need polish, but the raw ingredients are loud, and in the NFL, loud traits usually find a way to get heard. So now the real question is this: did Dallas get greedy in the smartest way possible, or are they betting on upside a little too hard? That's the kind of debate that makes Cowboys news worth watching because the answer will probably show itself fast once this defense gets on the field. What Dallas just did in this draft tells you something important about how this front office sees the team right now. They did not go shopping for polish, they went hunting for force. That's the real Dallas Cowboys news headline underneath all the excitement. Caleb Downs gives you a brain and a heartbeat in the middle of the defense. Malaki Lawrence gives you a pulse off the edge. Put those two things together and you start seeing a blueprint, not just a collection of names. That matters because too often the Cowboys have felt like they were patching holes instead of building a real identity. This feels different, this feels more deliberate, and that's why the rest of the draft becomes so interesting. Because once you hit on players like this, the conversation shifts from did they draft enough to how do they finish the job? That's where linebacker and corner still sit in the spotlight. Those are not fantasy needs, those are real ones. The defense still needs bodies who can run, tackle, and hold up when the game gets tight and the offense starts testing every inch of the field. You can absolutely feel the logic of the draft so far, but you can also see the unfinished edges. That's fine. Draft nights are supposed to leave you with questions. The key is whether those questions feel manageable or messy. Right now they feel manageable, that's the good part. The Cowboys are finally adding players who can change the speed of the defense. That's not a tiny detail. Speed changes everything. It changes how fast a linebacker can fill a gap. It changes whether a safety can erase a mistake. It changes whether an edge rusher can turn a pressure into a sack instead of a harmless hurry. When a defense gets faster, it gets louder. It starts forcing offenses into uncomfortable decisions. That is what the Cowboys are chasing here, and honestly, that is the right chase. You can't keep trying to survive in a division like this by hoping the other team makes more mistakes than you do. You have to go create problems. There's also a little bit of confidence baked into these picks that I like. Dallas didn't act scared. They didn't act like they had to settle. They stuck to their board, trusted the talent, and found two players who can matter right away in very different ways. That is how real change starts. Not with slogans, not with press conference talk, with actual football players who can make the rest of the unit better. Caleb Downs can help clean up the chaos. Malaki Lawrence can help create it for the other team. That combination is how defenses become dangerous again. Now, there is still work to do. No one should pretend otherwise. The Cowboys still have to keep attacking the linebacker room, keep evaluating corner, and keep figuring out how the rest of this defense gets rounded out. But the biggest thing I'd tell you is this: the draft feels like it has direction now, and direction matters. You can live with a roster that has needs if you can see where it's going. That's what this feels like. A team trying to get tougher, faster, and more disruptive all at once. So here's the real question for Cowboys Nation. Are you feeling better about this defense after these first moves, or do you still want Dallas to get more aggressive? Drop your answer in the comments, because that's where the real debate starts. And before you head out, make sure you subscribe, like the video, share it with another Cowboys fan, and help push this channel towards 17,000 subscribers. Turn on notifications too, because if you're serious about Dallas Cowboys news, you already know the next round of chaos is probably right around the corner.